Oh my goodness, I love ska. I think ska is great. Just welcome to the most interesting news in the world. And what is the most interesting news in the world today? Well, your host, Connor Hill, is going to tell you because that's what you need. You need someone to tell you what the most interesting. No, I'm kidding. This is just my version of what I believe is the most interesting news. Not believe, what I find to be the most interesting news in the world. And what is the most interesting news in the world today, this week? Well, I just came off of a 3-series call with Access Consciousness staff. Gary, Dane, and Simone did a class for all staff in Access Consciousness. Boy, Access Consciousness is different. Gary himself has never done, not that Dane does either, or Simone either. None of them have ever done normal meetings. And it's like when Gary calls him, in the past, when it would be Gary calling a meeting, he would be like, blah, 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 blah. And after like 15 minutes, be like, okay, done. I was always like, wow. And he, like, in just that 15 minutes, he just changed everything. Well, this time we did like 3 calls of an hour each. Yeah. And the magnitude of changing everything is times like a bazillion. So this episode today is called Structures, because and if you're like, but I wanted to hear the things that you talked about, it's okay. Gary and Dane are doing, and Simone, sorry, Simone, I didn't mean to leave you out, are doing a telecall called Structures and Systems. That starts in 6 days. So before I see you next week. So you might want to get on it. This is big. I know everything's big, but these days in Access Consciousness, things are moving fast. So structures. Well, let me speak a little bit about my awareness of structures. Something I've wanted to tell people about forever is structures from what people consider structures, what normal people consider structures, are always systems. Why? Well, systems are malleable. Systems can move. They're flexible. And so when you look in the world and you look at a building and you consider it a structure, you might think that it doesn't move, but it does. Like everything on the planet moves, every building moves. So how do I know? Well, I'm a professional civil engineer, and civil engineering includes structural engineering. And I did structural analysis and concrete design of steel structures, design of concrete structures, design of timber structures, all of the above. And one of the biggest, not just one of them, the biggest element of a structure that you see in the physical world that are like engineers are building is a pinned connection. So you have multiple kinds of connections. What's a connection? Think of a connection like your elbow. An elbow is a pinned connection because I pin it and it can go like this. That's the pin. That just if you imagine, like anytime you see like a little, like like boop, and then you just put a pin in. Like on my elbow, you can just drop a pin, so it allows it to rotate like this. But like if I rotate here like that, it's not my elbow rotating. This is actually my shoulder. A shoulder isn't actually a pinned connection, because see how it can kind of like move everywhere. That is, but it can't get pulled out, right? So it's pinned in that manner. So it depends on the degrees of freedom from which you can move. Why is this important? Because there is not a single, and I can say this from just, if we're talking about like because of it, there's not a single totally cantilevered structure on the planet. What does that mean? And I say totally cantilevered. Some engineers would probably argue with me that there's all sorts of cantilevered, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, there isn't. And cantilevered is where, like, say I stick my arm out like that, and it can't move at all. Like, even if I go, like, it doesn't even like do that. True cantilevered does not move. So if you have cantilevered all over the place, more like what occurs is when you don't allow for these degrees of freedom, these movements, what occurs is the exterior environment, the structure cannot it cannot mold, it cannot change, it cannot move with regards to its exterior environment. Why do I say exterior environment? Well, it's like whether if you have do that, yeah, if you have two walls and you put a beam between them and you cantilever that beam on both sides and you put some weight on it, you actually, it's not only just the weight, but it's like as temperature changes, things like that, the stresses, the internal stresses in that beam become too great and it will fail. So if you cantilever both sides, it's a lot worse situation than if you were to cantilever one side and pin the other, or pin both. And you get different results from all of the above. But essentially what it really truly comes down to is you will not see cantilevered, and because they've done it, they've accidentally, quote unquote, or stupidly built completely cantilevered like structures. And that's a structure that just cannot and will not move. Now, some people might say that, should I get into the details? I'm not going to get it. I'm sounding too much like an engineer. I'm sorry. I'm trying to cover all my bases. Engineers, if you send me a message, we'll explain it further. But right now, I'm going to try and keep it in layman terms and just let you know that a quote unquote true structure doesn't actually exist. Doesn't that just feel better? So what do I mean when I say structure? Something that doesn't allow anything to move. It's just like, it's just rigid. So everything this whole conversation brings up for everyone, will you destroy and uncreate it all times a gazillion? Right, wrong, good, bad, pump, all nine, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. So this is what these telecalls are about. It's really amazing because I love Gary, I love Dane, and I love Simone, and they are all so amazing and so much chaos. And these were my favorite calls ever yet so far. So, and things are just already super different. So if changing the structures in your life to allow for more systems and creating more systems and making your life more of a system. And see, even me talking right now, I even dwindled more into a structured reality, and you might have felt it. It's not really your best case. And it's funny too, because I should add, this is my caveat, not for engineers, but for everybody watching. There are a lot of structures that exist, not just and I'm not speaking physically this time, I mean like energetically, structures within law, structures within software, structures within how people just do things and energetically for themselves, and they create a structured life. And all of that just eventually, it doesn't, basically, because you can build, like I was saying, you can build a true structure. It's just not gonna last. Let's put it that way. It's not like it falls apart immediately. It's just eventually it falls apart. And so the structures that you think of as structures that have lasted thousands of years, they aren't a structure, they're a system. They move with it. And so if you're like, I mean, I don't really need to go into further detail because I know. And so so let's do this. All the definitions you have for what a structure is, that it isn't, will you destroy and create all those? Ouch. Times a gazillion. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all line, shorts, boys, povas, and beyonds. Oh my God, so good. And all the definitions you have for what a structure isn't, that it actually is, will you destroy and create all that? Ooh, ouch. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all line, shorts, boys, povas, and beyonds. And how many of you have bought that structures are, one, how to create your life, two, greater than you, structures around you, well, and there's structures that are built to tell you that they're greater than you. Ooh, all of those times it gets in, we're just trying to create all that. Ouch. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, line, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. That's really funny. That one's the biggest one. So how many structures do you have around you that are telling you, it's not like they're talking, I get that. It's more like their whole nature in the structure is like, I am better than you. How many structures do you have around you telling you that they're better than you? Oh, oh. Everything that is times the guys that are just trying to create it all. Wow, this is neat. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, nine, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. Like the structures of family, the structures of family, the structures of family. All the SHICU implants, exponents, and programming times the guys that are trying to create all right, wrong, good, bad, pop, nine, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. It's funny because when I said family, I thought of my parents and my sibling. I didn't think of my baby, my son, and his mom, which they're like a closer family to me now. But I'm like, they're not family. He's not family. He's just this dude, a dude in a little body. Wow. So how many structures of family do you have? See, now going back to my original discussion of what is a structure, this is where you have a cantilevered thing. What would a cantilevered thing in family be? Well, your connections. I talked about a pinned connection. So how many degrees of freedom do you have with your connections with your family members? Oh my God, this is hilarious. The names are even the same. Literally in engineering, you will call like it is like each element, structural element is a member. Oh my God, this is fucking hilarious. Everything that brings up for everyone times against them is trying to create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, all night, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. Oh, wow. Holy cow. That's funny. So all the all the connections that you have with all the members of your family that create the structure of family that doesn't give you any degrees of freedom at all, will destroy and create all that shit times guides in right, shorts, boys, povets, and beyonds. Now in access consciousness, we have something called the 10 keys to total freedom. This would basically be like, turning your elbow into a shoulder and then also pulling the shoulder out and being like, nah, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Everything that brings up for everybody times the guys in it is trying to create it all. Right, wrong, good, bad, public, online, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. So how many degrees of freedom do you have with the connections you have to your family members within the structure of family, your family structure, everything that is for all of you times gets in, right, wrong, good, bad, public, online, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Oh my God, this is so good. This is fucking good. Right, wrong, good, bad, public, all night, shorts, boys, poveds, and beyonds. Wow. I fucking didn't even look at it that way. The connections with your family members and the members and the structure. Like that's so if if you see like a building and you see the column, there's columns and there's beams, And all those, and you even look in your, you look around at everything. You've seen the bridges that have those, girders and things. They call those members. And then each connection to the other members is a connection. Oh my God. Wow. So how many degrees of freedom do you have with the connections you have to your family members within the structure of your family? Ouch. That's not as bad as it used to be. Right around, give out, pop up on night shorts, boys, pub ads, and beyonds. Maybe we only have to do that once. Apparently so. Like, because I feel pretty free now. Because I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Wow. Because you don't really have to create any of that. You can just be like, all right, I'm just going to like pull the pin. Pull in that pin. Or if it's a cantilevered, I don't know, maybe you're a Siamese twin and you're like legitimately connected at the hip. No, that's actually what, that's primary relationships. So what's a primary relationship? A cantilevered member, two members in a cantilevered blah, 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 essentially is like primary relationship. So what does it mean when you do primary relationship with someone? You make someone your primary relationship. You make not just that person as your primary relationship, the relationship with that person is your primary relationship. What's my primary relationship? For a long time, it was my body, and then I acted like that was a bad idea. And within the last like 2 weeks, I've re-changed that because other people I talked to made like their primary, like their priority in their primary relationship, like their business or some other stuff. Mine was always my body when life was going good. And I gave that up, and now I'm making my body again, and it's way better. I like it. It's like, what's more important to me, my business or my body? My body. Sorry. I know. And I realized that you may have been to an access class where a facilitator said they'd make their business their primary relationship or their priority. Maybe they don't make it their primary relationship. This is kind of I kind of like mixed two things. So how many priorities are you making a relationship? That's weird. How many priorities am I making a relationship? A lot, little, or no, I'm not doing that. There's something with this priority and if you have someone as a primary relationship, they are the number one priority. It's funny because it doesn't actually ring for me to talk about it. I can't talk about stuff if the energy isn't on point. And so I'm like trying to talk about it because it's kind of a thing. And I feel like you guys want to know about it, but it's just not there. So forget about everything I said about primary relationship, except for this cantilevered thing. When you create a primary relationship, typically with family member, that's a cantilevered, as a cantilevered member. Two of you are stuck together. 0 degrees of freedom. Boom! That's what we were looking for. So all the 0 degrees of freedom in the cantilever, with the connections you've created. We just try to create all those times it gets in. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop up. I'm gonna do my Indian head shake. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop up, call 9 shorts, boys, pop that's and beyonds. Wow. Oh my God, we've already gone for like 20 minutes. Holy cow. And I'm like trying to push this thing to go longer. We've pretty much done what we came to do. That was a lot. So this has been the most interesting news in the world. And that, ladies and gents, is the most interesting news in the world. Structures and systems. Telecall with Gary, Dane, and Simone starting in 6 days. I really suggest you be there. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So if you did like this, please like it, hashtag it, subscribe, whatever. Thanks everybody for coming and watching. I'm your host. This is the most interesting news in the world. with Connor Hill. And now I'm trying to